This is Jessi Sletten from Empowering Postpartum, and welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on your respective app stores on iOS or on your Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is completely free, super easy to download. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Amazon Fire Sticks, Roku Sticks, also on all the smart TVs 2016 and forward. So again, my name is Jessi Sletten, and I am here with you all today for my very first episode of this incredible program. And I am just so honored to be spending this next hour with you all. This TV show is really born out of my passion for supporting new and expecting parents through the transition into their parenthood. And this work that I've gotten involved in was really inspired and born through my own experience of entering into my motherhood. I am a mama to two very spirited young little boys. My first is 7 and my second is 3. And when I became pregnant with my first kid, I was over the moon. I had always envisioned just being a mother. That was my mission in life, was to just be able to dive headfirst into motherhood and just create this beautiful life and, have these kids running around me and being able to support them. My education is in human development and family studies, as well as psychology. So I was very familiar with early childhood development and had studied it for 4 years, got my Bachelor of Science in that. And my plan was to work with children. And I was a teacher for a couple of years at the preschool level. And I just thought I was prepared, right? And I think that so many of us would agree that when we realize we're pregnant and we're preparing for this incredible change in our life, we just picture the perfect, postpartum time frame, right? We envision this typical, Instagram worthy motherhood. And we dream of just being this beautiful, natural, easy, coming home feeling, right? When you finally get to hold your baby in your arms and you smell that new baby smell and you get those snuggles. And, of course, we know it's not going to be like, rainbows and sunshine, right? We know that there's going to be some hardships. We know, and we're told many, many times by everybody around us that sleep is going to be difficult, right? That there's going to be these things that we're going to have to work through. But overall, I feel like we have this vision that our intuition, this natural thing that's within us, is just going to kick in and lead, right? And it's just going to be this thing that we just kind of fall into, and it's just going to start unfolding for us, and it's just going to be this natural process. But the truth is that even though birth and postpartum are these natural processes, for many, many birth givers, it is not this ingrained, just intuitive thing that happens naturally, right? It's not something that we are just completely programmed to do automatically on autopilot. It is a learned process. And so this is something that was very difficult in my own journey to kind of come to terms with, because this is exactly what happened. Is I had this expectation that I am going to be able to just, be able to fall into this, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. I prepared for everything. I knew everything there was to know about, the birthing process, and I took all the classes at the hospital. I prepared for everything when it came to really understanding everything about birth, right? And I will figure it out once baby comes here, because I know what I'm doing. I worked with children for many years. This is like my background, right? It'll be fine. Everything will come just naturally. I'll figure it out. And that's not what happened for me. we have also have this difficult time right now in our society in this, and this is more for the Western culture, right? Where, I am a part of, where we just have lost this village of support around us. Through the generations, we've just lost this in our culture where we have these examples of, a supportive village of people around us helping us prepare for not only the birthing process, but everything that comes after becoming a parent, becoming a mother, learning how to feed our baby, learning how to care for our baby, understanding our own physiological, physical, emotional, changes that can happen and how to navigate through that while caring for this little tiny baby that needs 100% of our attention and cannot do anything for themselves, right? They rely on us 100%. And so because I didn't prepare for any of that, I ended up really, really struggling. And I had a lot of shame that came along with that as well. And so part of my story is a lot to do with this shame and this feeling of what is wrong with me? What did I do wrong, or what am I doing wrong as a mother where I am not feeling as connected to my baby as I should? Where I am kind of going into this overdrive of caring for my baby almost to an extreme, right? And so little did I know as this is all happening, and now that I'm out of this and I've done a lot of work with healing and I've done more education around this and everything, I realize now that I had been struggling with perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So I had postpartum depression as well as postpartum anxiety. And I like didn't know how to not only deal with that on a day-to-day basis, but because of that shame and guilt that I was saddled with, I did not know how to ask for help. And so that was one of the biggest things, is that I felt so alone and so isolated and ashamed that I didn't know what I was doing, that I struggled with my breastfeeding journey with my oldest. I thought that that was another natural process that would just come naturally, and it did not. We really, really struggled. And that added to the anxiety and the depression and the connection or the disconnection with my baby. And so through all of this, I had finally, reached out to my healthcare team, and after a good year of really struggling with this, and just said, I need to get some help. My marriage is suffering. My relationship with my baby is suffering. My work at the time was really difficult because I just was so riddled with anxiety and guilt around leaving my baby and all of these things. It was just so challenging. So finally, I did get the help that I needed. And through that, after getting what I needed medically and seeing a therapist and doing all these things and all this work, um, and learning more about the physiological and the hormonal and the physical and mental changes that happen during pregnancy and the shift that happens once we transition into our postpartum time frame. I realize that this is a huge gap that's left unserved in our community and in our culture. And I knew that I never wanted to experience this transition in that way ever again. And I wanted to have more children, but I was scared to go through the same process. And so through that, it made me realize that birth is truly just the beginning, right? And we can't spend all our time and energy and effort in planning for just the birth when that's just a piece of the puzzle. It's just that beginning. Because postpartum is really what is, after that. It's postpartum is forever, whereas birth is just the beginning, and it's a temporary thing. And I truly believe that postpartum is forever, because once we birth our baby, not only have we changed the structure of our family, we have this little one that we're caring for, our body as a whole has changed on a cellular level. And so if we are preparing for this time frame in the same way that we do our birth and creating these beautiful birth plans and taking all these classes and understanding our options when it comes to pain management and the different ways we can birth our babies into this world, and the support that is actually available more and more for the birthing process as far as birthing doulas go. Understanding that our partners are becoming more and more involved in the birthing process and being there and supporting us through that. We need to take that same energy, that same prioritization, and apply that to the postpartum time frame as well. So that's really how I came into this work, is from my own experience, and then learning more about the body as it changes in pregnancy, and understanding some of the foundational pieces of postpartum wellness is a holistic picture. And it's not just about one little piece, right? It's not just about learning how to heal your physical body after birth. It's not just about learning what foods are going to support your body after birth, and not just focusing on how to lose the baby weight, right? Or what kind of exercises are the best thing to do after 6 weeks postpartum, right? And we're going to dive into a lot more of these myths around postpartum healing and the time frame it takes for us to actually truly recover physically, and the process that we undergo mentally, transitioning into this new identity and this becoming and unbecoming process of who we are after birth. Um, but it's just like this. I went through this aha moment, right? Like this deep dark hole that I was in, that I fought so hard tooth and nail to get out of after the birth of my first son, um, was really what I wanted to learn from, and to be able to not only escape or just completely avoid any, pregnancies after that, but also to be able to come up with a way to support other birth givers, so that they didn't have to walk that same path that I did, whether it's their first time experience or it's their subsequent pregnancies where maybe they also had a very difficult um, first go of motherhood or parenthood, and they are also looking for that change, and how can I do this different. So really that's kind of where this whole program and this whole approach to a holistic solution for postpartum recovery really came in for myself, and this business that I run. And it's not, again, just about one piece. It truly is a holistic approach to postpartum wellness. And it has a lot to do with preparing ahead of time for that transition, because the last thing we need when we are in the trenches, right? We just have delivered our baby, whether that's at home, in a birthing center, at a hospital. We are exhausted. Birth is trauma. And this is a very important thing that we understand, that our body views birth, even if it was a simple, I should say, problem-free birth, um, it still is a trauma to our bodies, right? And so if we think about it in that way, it helps us understand that we need to prepare for this recovery ahead of time and really understand how we can do that in the best way, how we can support ourselves. So there's the physical recovery, but there's also, understanding this new identity, how our relationships are shifting and changing, how we can support our relationship with our partners, and figuring out how that will change our dynamic and how we want to parent together, and really approach it as a team, right? And then if this is a subsequent pregnancy and you have older children, how are your relationships going to shift and change with your other children? And how are they going to have their own version of postpartum that they're experiencing? Just like your partner's experiencing their own version of postpartum. So, how can you prepare for that ahead of time so that you are ensuring everybody is supported and on the same page and communicating about this experience together, so that we don't have these, resentments building up between you and your partner, and we can support your older children through this transition of having another baby join the family and what they may need to still feel connected to you and to be able to feel connected to this new baby. And then, of course, there's understanding the physiological changes that our body undergoes and how we can support that foundationally with our nutrition that we need to be focusing on when it comes to healing and recovery and not just losing the baby weight, right? This toxic bounce back culture, which we'll dive into in some later episodes around why that is so toxic and unrealistic, and what we should be focusing on instead when it comes to our nutrition. So, as you can see, this is a very complicated, kind of holistic wellness approach. And in order for us to truly make the shifts and changes we need to see in caring for postpartum women and birth givers, we have to start with understanding that we deserve to have our wellness as a priority. We get lost so much, and this is what happened with my experience with caring for the baby, right? And we can see this almost happen instantaneously after birth. Everything shifts from the birth giver and caring for that birth giver and ensuring that they're taken care of during the birthing process to the baby, right? And it's almost like the birth giver just kind of goes into the background and everything becomes about the baby. While baby's care is super, super important, we can't just all of a sudden shift everything to the baby, right? We still need to be able to have this prioritization of the birth giver, and making sure that they're still taken care of and that their experiences are validated and that they are feeling seen, heard, and in control about their birthing experience as well as their postpartum experience. So it's super important that, as mothers, as birth givers, we are prioritizing ourselves and saying, we deserve better than this. We deserve better than feeling like we are, kind of just an extension to our baby. We are individual people who deserve the same care and support and honoring and nurturing as our babies do. So, really, that's kind of what led me to doing the work that I do and my passion for it. And after doing all of these, healing and these furthering my education, I became a lactation counselor, inspired from struggling with my own breastfeeding journey. I became a certified postpartum nutrition professional. So, understanding what the postpartum body needs as far as nourishment and how that is so interconnected to many other things when it comes to our postpartum health, and how that can affect your hormone regulation, how it can affect your sleep, how it can affect your milk supply if you're choosing to chest or breastfeed. All of these things are connected. And so if we aren't preparing for that in a holistic way, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing our babies a disservice. And we aren't going to be able to connect and parent and be present the way we want to be during this fleeting time, right? And I'm not here to say it's going to be rainbows and sunshine, right? Postpartum is a very vulnerable, challenging, and unique time frame in our lives. And how we heal in postpartum in the early time frame affects how, our overall health is down the road. And some studies have even shown that how we heal or lack of healing in postpartum early on can actually affect how we transition into our menopause. So these are long-term roads that we are setting the stage for now. And we need to prepare for them with an understanding of how important this is, and that we're not just planning the short game. We're not just talking about birth, this one event that happens at the very beginning of our parenting journey, right? It's a very important piece, but we also need to be focusing on the long game and how this can affect our health. It can affect our mental health. There's a reason we're seeing skyrocketing perinatal mood and anxiety disorders um, all across the Western world. It's even 1 in 5 people. Some of the latest research have uncovered we're struggling with these PMADs, whether it's postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. We're seeing an influx in postpartum psychosis. And it is a very serious health problem that we are seeing. And it's all connected. So if we are educating ourselves before baby gets here, and we are preparing our support systems, we are preparing our understanding of how to support our bodies and what we need. We are getting the education we need on how to care for our little ones and share that parental load with our partners ahead of time, and understanding and being on the same page with our partners on that so that we can have that support um, and move through this together is so important. So when we lay this groundwork for parenthood ahead of time, and this shift that happens in our life, and we are becoming, and what pieces of ourselves we're letting go, and all of these different things, our bonding with our baby, our relationship with our older children, our relationship with our spouses or partners, it's given this opportunity to grow and to become something that we had envisioned at the beginning, right? And it won't be this perfect path of everything's going to be great, like Instagram worthy. Like, we're going to have some pitfalls, we're going to have some challenges. We're going to have to go through this learning process of understanding how to care for our little one, understanding how to breast or chest feed, or even bottle feed if we're choosing to do that. It's a whole nother process of learning how to prepare formula, how to prepare pumped milk. If you're learning to breast pump, you have to figure out all of that too, right? And how to use the breast pump. It's a medical device. So you have to figure out proper fitting and understanding the different settings, and how to properly store the breast milk. All of these things are a learned process. No one, especially ourselves, should expect to know this out of the gate. Just because baby's now here in your arms does not mean that all of a sudden we get this like download of like everything you need to know to parent, right? Like, wouldn't that be wonderful? But that's just not how it works, right? So this is a learning process. But what better way to do that than to have the support system set up around you ahead of time, to have a plan for your nutrition so you're not having to figure out how to cook a meal and what should be, the things that you're focusing on to help your milk supply, like when you're like changing dirty diapers 24/7 and, trying to care for this baby. Like, no one wants to have the meal plan during that time, right? So having something set up ahead of time, having the proper place and location to recover, all of these things, if we set that up for ourselves ahead of time, we're truly giving ourselves the best chance to be able to navigate through this transition into parenthood smoothly, while also being able to have that help when we stumble or when we're struggling, because we have all of these things identified. We know who to reach out to. We know what they can help us with. We know who is going to help us with certain aspects around childcare or whatever that might look like, or to help with learning the feeding process, right? So all of these things are things we should be setting up ahead of time so that we can have this, I don't want to say this picture perfect postpartum, because that's not what it is. It's this ideal experience for you and your baby in the best possible way, and having that support when things do get hard. And that's really what I do when I work with my clients through the different programs that I have established. It's just one of those things that are so needed, and there's such a gap right now in our society where we have these resources available. we're all becoming more and more aware of the challenges, and social media has really helped in that regard, where it's becoming more raw and more real when it comes to these experiences of postpartum and birth. And I think that that's so powerful, sharing our stories, being honest about our experiences. But then what's missing is the solution, right? Is we see all these things, we either see that everything is beautiful, rainbows and sunshine, or it's all depression and despair and difficulty, right? And there's really no way of, okay, well, how do I navigate through that? Or how do I find this middle ground of really just being able to feel the highs and the joys of motherhood and postpartum in these early days of newborn life, while also understanding and expecting that it's not going to be, just smooth sailing. There's going to be this learning curve. And then how do I figure that out in my own personal journey and my own unique family setup and my own unique health and body needs and all these things, right? So that's really where this came in with this business of mine, was to say, okay, the awareness is there. We're starting to build that momentum. We're having these, heart to heart discussions. Women and birth givers are sharing their stories, but there just doesn't seem to be enough resources out there where we can start to make a difference and we can start shifting the story where, okay, we don't just have to accept that postpartum is all about barely surviving it. Once we're through it, it'll get better, and are there going to be days where you have to tell yourself that? Yeah, there's going to be super hard days. There's still hard days for me. And I have a 3-year-old as my youngest, right? And so it's like toddler stage, whew, that's a whole nother topic. But it's just all about, being able to feel like there is a solution out there and that we can find that and have the guidance and support to be able to walk a path that somebody else has laid out already, so that you're not having to navigate through some of these really difficult things alone, and having that support identified ahead of time and creating a unique customized plan for you and your family and your baby, and how to then have the support once we're on the other side and baby is made it earthside and you're home and you're recovering and things need to be tweaked a little bit. And having that guidance and that support is so important because, we can create a beautiful plan and it's going to work out wonderfully. And the way that we work together is, really making sure that we have a lot of these things that can go wrong, or things that might not be the ideal postpartum, how we can approach, okay, if this doesn't work out this way, how are we going to make sure you have the support you need? But once baby's actually here, right? Babies come the way they're going to come, and they're their own person, like from day one, right? And so, really, their own temperament and their own way of navigating the world is going to shift some of these things. And so, having me by your side and having that guidance of saying, okay, what can we do to make this go a little bit smoother now that we have to make some of these changes? And so, that's really why I think that my program is so unique. It's really this holistic approach to not only planning your postpartum, but actually navigating the fourth trimester and beyond. And it's truly something that I'm very passionate about. Taking the time that I have to heal from my own experiences, learn and become educated in, not only the nutrition realm and the lactation and infant feeding realm, but also when it comes to postpartum mental health. I went through, a birth um, trauma and trauma support course around, supporting survivors of trauma in the postpartum timeframe, as well as through pregnancy, and really becoming educated on perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. I received a certification in perinatal mental health through Postpartum Support International. And just really trying to further my education on all of these things, because it is a holistic interconnected wellness approach to support. And I've really tried to infuse that throughout these programs that I've created. Um, yeah, so that's kind of my story that I wanted to share today. It's been a journey. I had my first son, and some of the things that were really hard looking back is that the first 6 months of his life, because I had felt so um, just completely blindsided by this whole experience. And my mental health was in such a bad, state, and my physical health was terrible because I didn't know how to nourish my body, and I didn't understand the severity of the physical healing I would have to go through. But that whole 6 months, I look back and I don't have very many memories of my child's first 6 months. And that is heartbreaking. I've done a lot of work to heal that and to kind of accept that. But that was really one of the hardest things, I think, for me, was that I was not present like I wanted to be during those really special first few months because I just was in such a difficult state. And, I look back and I'm so thankful for some of the videos and photos that I had taken because, I could actually look back at them and see some of those experiences that I just have no recollection of. Um, but I'm happy to say that, through that experience, through everything that I just shared, I, with my second son, applied all of these things and I created my own plan. I hired my own postpartum coach. I had a nutrition, plan that I was using to help fuel my body and heal my body. I, understood how important the support system was and having some things lined up ahead of time and understanding my own mental health, history and, ensuring that I had everything planned out ahead of time, created a completely different experience with my second birth and postpartum. And it was really just a beautiful healing experience with my second birth because not only was I able to kind of heal some of those traumas and, really just kind of accept and let go of some of the shame and guilt of that experience and to understand that I was not alone with that experience. But also to then say, okay, this allows me to embrace this second experience and to really prioritize my own healing, prioritize my own mental health and self care, understanding what I needed to be able to be present and connect and bond deeply with my baby as well as my first son. I had a beautiful experience of really connecting with him and um, kind of growing closer with my first through this process of, incorporating him into the pregnancy and just allowing him to feel a part of this process in a way that also made him feel secure in our attachment and that, he was still going to be my little buddy, right? And that we were going to have this special time and these things that we had set up ahead of time for our connection and building that into my plan and that so that he felt like he was also a priority and not just the new baby too. So it was really just this beautiful healing re-entry into my motherhood, and it truly did make such a difference for me when I was able to finally have that experience that I wanted so badly with my first son and as well as to create this mentorship, this guide for other birth givers and expecting parents to be able to follow along as well so that they didn't have to go through those difficult um, you know hardships or experience them to the same depth or difficulty as I did or as other people have who felt so blindsided by this experience of postpartum and new parenthood. So that's really my story and my journey. I'd love to kind of just go a little bit deeper into kind of what these programs that I offer have, what they look like, as well as, just kind of what you can expect from this show moving forward. I am super excited to kind of do a combination of education and just inspiration. So, over the next few episodes, I'm going to be sharing some of the foundational pieces to postpartum wellness that I think is super important. I want this show to be chock full of just really good information that you can take and apply to your own postpartum planning, to your own fourth trimester navigation. If you've already had your baby, it's never too late to start getting the support and the prioritization of your wellness and your health. Um, you know, in the postpartum time frame, postpartum is forever, right? And so I think that there's always opportunities for us to improve the way we are navigating our parenthood. But I'm also a very strong advocate for preparing ahead of time as well. But we are going to be covering a lot of those different types of pieces and content, and what you can do for your own postpartum experience and for planning for your birth. And we are going to have guests coming on the show as well who are perinatal professionals. So I'm going to have a wide range of just amazing experts coming in to share their knowledge, and it'll be a wide range of things, from sleep experts for your infants as well as you, to other aspects of your postpartum health when it comes to like post or pelvic floor health, things like that are very much kind of swept under the rug, I feel like. These are going to be really important topics that we are going to tackle, and you are going to walk away feeling like you have a better understanding of your own needs, your own physical and mental, journey through pregnancy and birth. So I'm really, really excited to start just moving forward and getting all this great content to you guys, and really helping you navigate this journey together, so that you feel like you have this village around you, even though our culture isn't set up that way anymore. And we don't have to accept that as the way it is anymore. We can start feeling empowered. There's a reason I call my business and the show Empowering Postpartum, is because I want you to feel like you are in control. You are in the driver's seat. You are the one who can say, I am a priority. My health and recovery is a priority. My bonding with my child is a priority. And here is how I am going to make sure this happens, and who can support me to make sure that this happens. That's what you can look forward to some of our other episodes that will be coming down the line. I'm going to be talking about creating your postpartum recovery sanctuary and why that is so important, and what you should have within those spaces ahead of time. So I will be sharing information on that in the upcoming episodes. I'm also going to be talking about more of this identity shift when it comes to motherhood, and how that is so impactful in how we connect with our babies and how we connect with ourselves. And so that will be another future episode. We're going to be talking about this emotional resiliency of postpartum, and how, when we can understand that there's this shift and this becoming and unbecoming, we can prepare for that a little bit better, and how we can also normalize some of these feelings that I don't think many of us feel comfortable voicing, because of that shame and guilt that sometimes can sneak in when it comes to holding ourselves to this expectation of being super mom, right? And so we're going to be kind of diving into some of that in future episodes. But I wanted to quickly just touch base on the postpartum planning program that I have created. So when you enroll, you'll really become prepared for everything we've talked about, everything postpartum life can bring, from your own healing and recovery after birth, to caring for and bonding with your baby during this really vulnerable and fleeting time. It feels like it can drag on, right? But it also feels like it goes by like this. And so, how we can really prepare for that time so that you can feel present. Preparing for your postpartum through these powerful programs that I have will help you feel that empowerment. You'll feel holistically supported and just really ready to transition confidently into your parenthood on your terms, which I think is so, so important, because we are saying screw this idea of this ideal motherhood, this ideal newborn phase and postpartum, and also no thank you to only depression and struggle and barely surviving. We want to find a middle ground where we are recognizing and honoring the hard, but also being able to cherish and be present for the beautiful, right? And that's really what we're looking for, is to create this ideal for you and for your baby and for your family experience. So if you are pregnant and expecting your little one, and you want to be strategic in planning for your postpartum experience, right? And not just winging it or being like, well, I did all my birth planning, I'm good. Hopefully, through this episode, you've learned that, yeah, I think that there's a really big piece here that's missing, and that there is a solution for you to figure that out. But I want to encourage you to check out my Work With Me page on my website. And you can find my website at empoweringpostpartum.com. And you can learn all about my Preparing for Parenthood program or my Empowering Postpartum Coaching program, which includes everything from the planning program, which is an online DIY kind of self-paced e-course. But you get everything in that plus the one-on-one support, so that if you are looking for more of that hands-on guidance, that can help you create your own custom postpartum plan in pregnancy so that you feel prepared for your postpartum. You also will get postpartum specific meals, an entire nutrition plan designed specifically for postpartum bodies and recovery. So you would get that as well. It's a 6-week postpartum postpartum meal plan, as well as the coaching and guidance through working through those 6 weeks and beyond, and transitioning back into a more non-postpartum specific approach to nourishment. And then you also would get with that one-on-one package or the actual coaching program. You would also get just, that troubleshooting phase, right? You'd have my support with you side by side during your 4th trimester when baby's actually here. We'd be able to say, okay, what's working with our plan? Where do we need to shift? Where do we need to tweak? As well as just the safe space to be able to come and talk about your experience. And just this non-judgmental, just protective, safe space to be able to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Whether or not you want, some guidance on how to navigate the hard, or you just need to vent about it sometimes, right? We all need that place to be able to come and speak from the heart without this fear of judgment. That's another really great benefit to having the one-on-one coaching package as well. So you also will have me as a lactation professional. So if you are having struggles with your infant feeding journey, I can be right by your side to help you navigate that. We can do virtual, you know, observed feeds. We can talk about pumping plans for going back to work. We can talk about all of the things that have to do with feeding baby and feeding you and prioritizing your wellness and your support. And then, of course, we just create this overall, just this approach to how we can make sure you're getting the postpartum experience that you deserve and that your family as a whole deserves. So again, if you are interested in checking out those 2 different programs, head on over to my website, check out the Work With Me page. The e-course is called the Preparing for Parenthood program. And the one-on-one coaching is Empowering Postpartum Coaching. So those two separate programs you can find on my Work With Me page. And of course, if you have any questions, I love just chatting and seeing how you are navigating through your parenthood, where you're struggling, questions you might have. And so I always would love to connect with you. Feel free to email me with any questions you have about the programs or just anything in general. If you want to connect, you can email me at Jessi, Jessi, at empoweringpostpartum.com. And of course, you can check me out on all the social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, where you can find me at Instagram on empowering_postpartum. You can find me on Facebook, all the places. So connect with me there and be sure to follow me. And I also am pretty active over on Pinterest as well. I have a blog that I try to post. So all the places we can connect and you can get more education and value when it comes to preparing for your fourth trimester and beyond. So thank you so much for tuning in for the first ever episode of Empowering Postpartum with Jessi Sletten. I am super excited and honored that you spent this hour with me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. This will be a weekly program. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network, so please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys next week, where we're going to be diving into a little bit more of that